so excited to go. We're going to Florida though.
Oh.
And I was excited to go.
So this goes through.
You're the payroll and the warrant, and I'm the back, I feel like I'm then the backup.
Nick has a list right there that I gave him.
Yeah, I have a list.
What you currently have right now.
I'm just
As a role.
usually the designated signer
Yeah.
because
Green is the backup.
Christina
I gave
calls
you,
me.
oh, I gave
Can
you
you
one
come
too.
in?
Yep,
Yeah.
Are you the building rep?
Are you ready for me to count you in?
I guess the student rep is next.
Huh?
You ready for me to count you in?
He's the building committee rep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whomsoever?
And he's the
I go when you go.
Okay, so 5,
assistant chair.
4, 3,
That's not even on.
2.
Good evening, everybody. With the time being 6 p.m. on Tuesday, May 12th, I will call this meeting of the Webster School Committee to order. As a reminder, the meeting is being recorded both video and audio. It will be posted to the school district website. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda this evening will be the reorganization of the committee. The first position would be the chairperson. Do I have any nominees for the chair?
Through the chair, I nominate Kelly Siddiqui as chair.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
A second?
A motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Desiree, can you please poll the board?
Member Coleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scarpia?
Yes.
Thank you. The second position would be the vice chairperson. Do I have a nomination?
I nominate member Adamopoulos.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, Desiree, would you poll the committee?
Member Coleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scarpia?
Yes.
Thank you. Next position would be the secretary. Last year that was member Millet. Do I have a nomination?
I'll nominate, member Corellos.
Caleros.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Desiree, can you please poll the board?
Member Coleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scarpia?
Yes.
Thank you. The next position is the email. Oh, we're doing at the end.
We're doing at the end, yep.
Sorry about that. The next item would be the approval of the April 14th, 2026 minutes. Any discussion pertaining to those? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. Desiree, would you please poll?
Member Coleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scarpia?
Yes.
Thank you. Next item would be the approval of the tri-board minutes from March 23rd of 2026. Do I have any discussion pertaining to those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion concerning those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Motion to approve, is there and a second? Could you please poll the board?
Member Coleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes,
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scarpia?
Yes.
thank you. And I have approval of the budget workshop minutes from March 31st of 2026. Is there any discussion pertaining to those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. Desiree, could you please poll the board?
Member Coleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes,
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scarpia?
Yes.
thank you, everybody. Next item is the superintendent's report. Good evening, Mr. Randall.
Good evening. Nice to see everybody this evening. I'll try and project a little bit. As you know, we are holding our first school committee meeting in our new media center at the high school. We will be having meetings here and hosting meetings here until December, when we are scheduled to be back in our new place. It is a little different. We are streaming live on YouTube, or that is our intention, and we will be doing that for the next few months until we get in our regular location and get back to our normal equipment. First, I'd like to start with our personnel update. We have received a couple retirement notices for the end of the school year. We have Miss Donna Hurton, who is a teacher at Bartlett High School. She is scheduled to retire in October. And then we have Miss Christine Esposito, who is our cafeteria manager at Webster Middle School. She is scheduled to retire at the end of the school year. So we wish them the both very best. We have a couple of new hires. We have Miss Yvonne Torres, who is a full-year administrative assistant at Park Ave. Ms. Torres comes to us with a lot of experience. She has some family liaison experience. She's also a certified translator for special education, and she has an extensive background in admin assistant work, so we welcome her to Park Ave Elementary. I would also like to welcome Mussolini D'Souza. Did I say that right? Mussolini?
D'Souza, oh, yes.
Huh?
D'Souza.
D'Souza? She's an ABA at Webster Middle School, and we welcome them to the team and look forward to many years to come. We have received a few recent resignations. We have Yesenia Marquez, an ABA at Park Ave, Tabitha Chauvin, who's also an ABA at Park Ave, and Gloria Rodriguez, an ABA at Park Ave. Currently, we have no transfers at this time. As you can see, we still have many vacancies for ABAs and instructional assistants that throughout the school year we've been struggling to fill these positions. We continue to look. Hopefully, the end of the year and the summer coming, we'll give the pool out there a refresh, and we'll be able to fill these positions for the start of the school year. Are there any questions on personnel?
Through the chair.
Yes.
The special ed teacher, is that a resignation or is that like a new position added? It wasn't on the April notes.
It wasn't? Oh, that was Miss O'Brien's position. Miss Kelly O'Brien. She was a
Right.
special ed teacher who just recently passed.
Understood.
Yep. So, I'm sorry, I skipped right over that one. Continuing on in the management and operations, the first, I just wanted to give you a policy update as we head in. As you notice, I did not bring any new policies to you this time. I will be reviewing them hopefully before the next two meetings are up. I know we have some busy meetings coming up. We have strategic plan we want to present. We're also going to present our school improvement plans by the end of the school year, and also try and get some of our handbooks in. So I'm going to work hard to get some policies in, but I might be taking a little break, but it's not going to be extended too long. But as you know, we've spent some time focusing and updating on our policies this year. We have set up a new structure online for our policies. They're searchable, they're easy to look, they're by section. It's a much better system. To date, we've reviewed 76 policies. We've deleted 9. We've updated or added 46. And I have 23 that I've reviewed that are in the process, that need to be updated, that we'll be bringing forward. So we've made some pretty good progress this year. We'll continue that work. Overall, we have approximately 333 policies. That's give or take, because some of them can, as we continue to go through, be deleted, or there's new ones out that we might not have that'll need to be added. So, you know, even though we've done a lot of work, we still have 150 plus policies to review, look at, bring forward something. But we put a dent in it, and we'll continue that work, and I'm pretty excited about how much has been accomplished, and I feel good about reviewing these policies as we move forward. There's probably going to be a point where I may have to get committees together or small groups together to discuss certain policies. You know, right now we're doing the ones that are pretty standard, straightforward, or easy, don't need a ton of collaboration. They're working in small departments to get that I can ask questions. But when we get to some of the bigger policies, that might have to have maybe a school committee representative or somebody to come in to review these policies as we go through. But I will give plenty of notice and as we go through, and I'll try and chunk them like we have been by sections. Are there any questions about policies? No? Okay. Continuing on under management and operations, on Thursday of last week, Ms. Contos, Ms. Pugliafico, and I attended a tabletop exercise which was held at the Webster Fire Department. In attendance at that meeting were all local fire department officials, Webster EMS officials, police department, NEMA, Harrington Hospital officials, the town administrator. We ran through a scenario for Park Avenue. The goal was to give our systems a test, talk about what we think should happen or what we have planned to happen. And then the goal is to review those and talk about them to say, is that the best scenario? Are we missing things? Should we be addressing an area? Are there things that we need to improve on? We looked at our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When it's all said and done, NEMA is going to put together a report and summarize its findings for our departments. This was driven by our new fire chief, Mr. Jeff Sad. So I'd like to thank him for organizing this event. It hasn't been done in many years. And I think it was a truly great exercise. We learned a lot that day, just talking through certain scenarios. You know, what if this were to happen on this side of the building? What would we think about? Where would we go? Little things like we do practice our fire drills, we do practice evacuation, but what if there's an incident where, you know, we have students at recess and at lunch? Where do they go? What happens? You know, what if we have to reunify someplace? What do we do there? How are we going to take care of things like that? What's our communication going to look like? So it was a great experience, a great drill. It was very valuable, and we've talked about potentially, you know, bringing that back and doing smaller drills by school to see what that would look like on a PD day or something. They would be willing to come in and help coordinate to go through that. So again, I wanted to thank Jeff Sad. It was wonderful working with our community partners. We all got something out of it, I believe. Everybody valued that experience. So I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah, I would just add that, you know, it gave you things to think about. You know, are we clear on roles and responsibilities in those situations? You know, who takes point in what location? How are we communicating with each other? What kinds of things do we have to think about? I'll give you for example. We have walkies across a lot of the buildings. But in that case, you know, should we have a spare set of walkies in the case of an emergency if we have to mobilize people from other schools to come and help out? So just things that, as we talk through scenarios, things that we thought that would be helpful to better understand and flush out, particularly around roles and responsibilities and who's doing what and how are we making those decisions? How do we communicate? A lot of what-if scenarios and a lot of reliance also on judgment in the moment. You know, as much as you can plan all of this out and have good sort of operating procedures that you would follow, everything's a game day decision in terms of what's going on and what are the circumstances. So I think, if anything, it gave us a lot of food for thought and a lot of things we want to reflect on and really work with our overall team, because this exercise was a much broader exercise of multiple organizations, right? Every one of those organizations, I'm sure, thought, we got to walk back and think about what are we going to do in this situation, and are we clear on that? And I think the biggest thing is how do we communicate and how do we make sure across EMS, fire, police, the school department, are we communicating consistently and, you know, in the same way, in the same manner, so that we're managing the situation and not creating any kind of undue concern in the community and in keeping people calm in a very stressful situation, which is not easy to do. So.
And it was also great when Mr. Sad approached me, when Chief Sad approached and said, you know, what do you think, what school would you be interested in doing? I immediately thought of Park Ave. It's our biggest school with our littlest kids. We have 760 students there. We have multiple locations around. We have an upper level, we have a lower level. There are a lot of areas that we need to consider. And you're in proximity to another school. There's a private school right up the road. So it was a great exercise, and I'm hoping that we can repeat that with some of the other buildings, especially once the high school's done, just to kind of bring awareness to our teams to know what we have to do. So, are there any questions about that?
Through the chair?
Yes.
So you're gonna get a report back from Nemo with just kind of some information, or?
Mimi's gonna submit a report back to Mr. Sad, to Chief Sad, about the experience and areas, what some of the strengths were that Webster showed as a team, what were some of the opportunities, how we can improve, weaknesses, areas that we might want to focus on, things that maybe we didn't think of, so that, and Mr. Sad will share that out once he gets the report with us, tools that we can use to improve running growth.
Perfect, and then is your plan to kind of put something together that's gonna go through the district as far as?
Yep.
Yeah, and then you'll
Yep.
share it with the school committee eventually when you?
Yep, because Ms. Pouliafco said there are things that I need to think of, because we all have crisis plans, we all have plans in place. So what do we need to add to that plan? What do we need to change to that plan?
Do you have like a strategic crisis plan for every school in the district, so it's kind of the
Yes.
same, but just a little different
Yes.
depending on the school? Okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
Yep.
Thank you.
But I'd add with this exercise, while we have those plans, this scenario made food for thought about, oh, I thought it would be a hold in place. Would I move some classrooms over? When would I make that decision? How would I make that decision? So I think depending upon the nature of the situation really drives how you're going to execute that in the moment. You know, you have a lot of like laid out plans, but I think that was the big thing for all of us was like, that just changed my thought process. And we were doing a lot of huddling during the exercise. I think a good example was at one time it was thought that the lake would be a good reunification location, but what we discovered in this particular exercise is that's the location that EMS would use to line up ambulances if they needed them, right? Maybe a helicopter to come in, and so you wouldn't want to cross that group in there. Another reunification site for us has always been down at St. Joe's, but in the particular scenario we had, we wouldn't be walking out the back based on what we were simulating. So, you know, we started talking about what other locations in town could we use, what would we need for facilities, lots of things to think about, so.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Were our teachers have input into this plan? Because they would know how some of their students may react in an emergency.
So in far as the creation of the plan, no, but when we start to evacuate or no, they know their situations, they know their students and where to go. So we have, during the structure of an evacuation or an emergency, there are set protocols that need to happen, right, in different places that we need to go. But once we get to the school level, they know, like we have evacuation routes, we have chairs, we practice who needs what, we know what to do when we lock down. So they would be controlling the situation in their classroom at that moment with those kids when they're locked down. And then we would be communicating that.
I just think it's important to get some of their feedback. Because they know there are going to be students who, even when the fire alarm goes off, are
Oh, sure.
react to that loud sound. I know my son did
Yeah.
when he was little. And some, it's going to increase their anxiety, and they're going to have different reactions,
Sure,
so.
sure. But in certain cases, we may be limited to what our response can be depending on the scenario, right? Depending on whether it's just a simple fire, drill, or evacuation, other than a massive event. What we were working on was a massive critical event, you know? So it depends on the nature of what the crisis is.
They shared one where there was a gas leak. Like that was another talking point that we had, and they had to evacuate a building, and what did that look like? So again, it depends on what is the root cause of us having to take action in an emergency situation, and what is that emergency situation?
I think that collaboration goes a long way.
Yeah.
And you just said more of those what-if scenarios that you probably don't think about. But also, now you're gonna see what the pressure points are. Well, how's the communication actually gonna work between each different group? Like you had said, obviously, we were gonna use the lake, but then you have the discussion with EMS, and now it says, like, the lake's not a good place. If we had had a discussion, that never would have worked itself out. I am glad we brought in the local hospital too.
That was great.
Because obviously, in the event of some kind of catastrophic event, they're gonna have a lot of input. So it's good to get everyone involved, from the town administrator to all three, the EMS, the fire, and the police.
And it went all the way through. It went from the start, and this was based on a real incident. They didn't tell us up front what the incident was, right? They just said this is based on a factual incident that happened. They started walking through it with us. This is the first hour. We're in hour 0 to like the first 90 minutes of the incident. And then we went in all the way to the closing of the incident. Now it's the next day. What does our communication look like? How do we communicate to the community? Who's communicating to the community? Where are we managing that? And what's the best form of communication? We all know that, we have a code red system in town, but that is, it's limited to so many people. We have our one call system, so we can communicate really well with our families. But everybody was in agreement, the majority of communication, people get information through social media. So what are we posting? How are we working our messages together? So we're sending one clear, concise message. We're not getting different pieces of information from different bodies throughout the town. So it was just, it was good. It gave us a lot to think about, and certainly how we can do things better, and, what we can do internally with our own groups to improve on that.
Was the dispatch?
Yes, they were also there.
involved too?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, yep. Yeah, they
As
covered everything.
someone who lived through an incident with no plan,
Mhm.
and it was a gas leak, at the old Sikowski School, the town was working on the road, and our principal was not in the building that day,
Mhm.
and we all went down to May Street, and then it started to rain.
Mhm.
Thank goodness Jeff Coe let us all go into
Yep.
their factory because there was no plan.
And we talked about that. We talked about, what if it's raining? Where do we go? Can we get them access? How quickly can we turn around a bus company to get them,
Yep.
there? And like I said, we can have, and more than one person needs to know your plan, right? We need to know this as a team. We need to work through that. And just because, I'm the leader here, I might not be the best person for a certain role within that plan, depending on what they have access to, looking up information and getting. So where do we go? Sometimes the first person on the scene, or the first person who's kind of taken charge, might be great for the role at that time, might not need somebody else to be in, to let things go. So I think it was a great experience. I enjoyed it, I hope we never have to have an incident like
Agree.
that,
But it did highlight with our emergency services in town through police, fire, EMS, dispatch, that all of the small events that happen, much smaller events that happen in town, how well this team works together and is coordinated. And you got that strong sense during this exercise, right? That they were very quick on response and thinking of things, and having been through, much smaller scale, but they had them, and I think that was a highlight. And actually, I would say that NEMA agreed. They could tell that it was a very cohesive overall group working together.
Yeah.
So,
I will say there's a lot of trust between our community partners, a lot of trust, and that goes a long way when you're talking about incident. Nobody's feeling like they have to be the person in charge. It's a collaborative effort, it's a team effort. We're here to support one another, so.
It's good to have a plan and not need to use it.
Exactly, exactly. You can never be too prepared, right? So, thank you, Chief Sad, for that. Okay, moving on, town meeting update. As you know, last night we had our first town meeting here at the high school. We had a decent crowd of people show up for the town meeting. I want to thank everybody who came out to support. I am happy to say that the budget passed. So we are very excited about that moving into the new year. And again, we appreciate everyone who showed up to support the town and the school through the articles and for our FY27 budget. I don't know if anybody wants to, if you have any comments about
I would-
town meeting?
Just echo what you said, obviously, thank the community as a whole for coming out and supporting the budget. Thank all the different individuals that took part in making that budget a reality. Obviously, it wasn't the easiest year, so I give a lot of kudos to everyone from the school side to the administration side, the principals, for finding a way to make the budget work. And I don't think you're gonna get much time off before we have to start thinking about next year's budget, so, one's passed, but we'll look forward to hopefully getting, something in place for next fiscal year too.
Absolutely. I'll be here in the blink of an eye. Okay. There's no
Any
questions?
other comments?
I'll move on to other updates. On Thursday, May 7th, I was pleased to attend the Super Team event, which was held at Point Breeze and Webster. I have to say, this is one of my favorite nights of the year. I enjoy the students so much. It was wonderful to hear our students and listen about their journeys. It was very well attended, and I'd like to give a shout out to all the students. If you would be patient with me, I'd just like to recognize the names of the students, and I'd like to thank Miss Doherty, along with Miss Nieves, for putting on such a nice event. But I'd like to give the students some recognition. Okay, for the guidance department was Arul Azu. Oh, I missed the first one. I can't miss Catherine. The principal award and our host for the evening was Catherine Nascimento. Arul Azu represented the guidance department. For the art department, we had Georgia LaPierre and Joseph Medina. For band, we had Gianna Eliz, I'm not going to say that right. Desiree? I want to pronounce it correctly. Ilaraza, I want to give them right. Louis Chekvik as chorus. Annalise Kresnecki for the science department. D.A. Patel for science. For social studies, we had Nikki Kakis. We had Erilyn Cottle for social studies. For English, our two candidates were Juliana Burkalt and Braden Green. For physical education, we had Aiden Turner. For health, we had Joshana Espinal Rodriguez. For math, we had Chloe Driscoll and Xavier Butler. For Chapter 74 marketing, we had Zion Inoki. For advanced manufacturing, we had Xavier Bailey. For healthcare and social assistance, we had Megan Milligan. For world language, we had Ivy Bukakis. For world language, we had Desha Collins. And those were our recipients for the evening, and I just wanted to say they were all wonderful. They did a great job with their speeches. It was wonderful to see the families there and for our students to be recognized. So I think they did a super job with it, and I'm just really proud of the students who were there that evening. I think they did a great job. Any comments on Super Team?
Through the chair,
Yes.
just thank Ms. Nieves for just really creating lots of special moments for the high school seniors to really celebrate them. I think it's just really nice, all the events she puts on, and just to offer thanks for doing all that for the seniors here.
And this Super Team is not just for seniors. It could be
right,
anybody in the
that's right.
high school.
Yes, that's true.
But you're right,
Yeah.
they do a lot for the seniors to make their year memorable.
Yeah.
So, and all these events are coming up, so
Mhm.
they're gonna be busy for the next month. Moving on Memorial Day, I just wanted to give the committee a heads up. The Bartlett High School National Honor Society will be walking in the Memorial Day Parade this year, so we can be on the lookout for them. And then moving on Professional Day, Friday was a half a day for students, and we had a professional day for staff. In your packets are a copy of the grids, which you can peruse at your own to see what was going on in the district. In addition to Friday's PD, the full DLT, along with counselors from all buildings, are participating in a mediation training. There was a request from different schools that, mediation is something that we could work on as a team and get better. It's a skill that we could all use and improve on. So Dr. Mackay, through a grant, had procured some mediation training for the entire group. We have 3 sessions. We had our first session, which was 2.5 hours on April 30th. There'll be another session coming up at our full DLT on Thursday, May 28th, and then we have a full day training on June 24th. So I look forward to that training. And then on Wednesday, April 29th, we also welcome the Gladys E. Kelly Public Library to our new facility here. The library sponsored an author, R.F. Wong, to come in and give a talk and then have a book signing session after. She gave a great speech. It was wonderful to sit and listen. It was about writer's block and AI. There was a good turnout from the library. I think they had about 150 people here, and they were very excited. The space was perfect for their event. So we look forward to offering more events and partnering with the library. I think they definitely are interested in coming back and using the space again, and they were thrilled with the night. So thank you to the library for that. In other news, I am working with MAPFRE Insurance, Ms. Linda Johnson, to hold the Mass Team Road Safety Summit in the fall of next year. Ms. Johnson had reached out to me and pitched this event, and I thought it was a fantastic idea for our students. I reached out to our Worcester County Superintendent Association, Ms. Amy McKinstry, who is the president, and asked if she was interested in putting this out to our Central Mass superintendents. MAPFRE was looking to hold something locally for the Central Mass superintendents. They're looking for about 150 students. So we're going to bring it to them. The goal is to end up with student ambassadors who will come back and share road safety with their student peers here in the district. Every school, we're looking to 2 to 5 students who will be able to go. They're looking at hosting it in Polar Park. There'll be a full day of events. Of course, you know, it always starts with a nice breakfast and a solid lunch, but in between there'll be some speakers. They have Mothers Against Drunk Driving who will share an experience and give a speech there. They're going to have some games for the kids that revolve around safety, some Jeopardy games, and do a lot of little things with the kids for that day to teach them about road safety, and then hopefully they will come back and represent that and share that with their peers here at school. So we're thinking it's going to target mostly sophomores and juniors, because they'll be the ones who will become drivers next year. So that should be going out. We're going to be sharing that out in a couple weeks. I think we have our meeting next week. Ms. McKinstry will be sharing it out with the superintendents. They're working on a registration process, and so we'll be looking to do that. So I'm excited, and I thank Linda Johnson for reaching out. They're always looking to partner with our schools, and we are very fortunate to have such a partnership. And I also know the Worcester County Superintendents Association is very excited about this opportunity. So I think it'll be a great day. Are there any questions about that?
Just would like to thank MAPFRE for taking the time to work with not just us, but obviously now most of the towns in the local area. It's a very important topic, and you know, with cell phones and everything like that, one split second can make a big difference to someone's health. So it'd be a great topic for our students to bring back and talk with their peers about, because it is very dangerous if you're not having proper safety in place.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, moving on, Park Ave Art Show. I'd like to thank Miss Callan Diascana for the amazing work she put in for our students at Park Ave. I was able to go to their art show and walk through all the great art they had on display. They had it riddled down the hallways, up and down stairs. They had clay that students made things out of, along with paintings and things like that, and they did a wonderful job. So I know it's a lot of work for her to go and do all of that and prepare that for the year, but it was wonderful, and it was great to see all the families that attended to walk through and see the art. And it was also paired with their book fair, which is incredible. They fill up that library with people buying books, families visiting, looking, kids walking out of there, so it was a great day, great event. So thank you for organizing that and putting that together. And then if there's no other questions, I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Student Support Services, Ms. Sherry here, who's here to give an update as to the ongoings of our special education department.
Thank you, Superintendent. Good evening, school committee members. I wanted to go over a couple of things tonight. The special education update in terms of numbers. There's some thank yous that I would also like to make and share with you, and some planning ideas for next year. So we know that our special education numbers tend to hover around 500. At the mid-year last school year, we were at 534. The mid-year this year, we're at 510. We're currently at 529 students. some of the composition where we're seeing some changes in the student population is last year, 133 students with autism, and to date, we're at 154, so that's a 16% increase. We have seen a doubling of numbers in the neurological category from 14 to 27. And health is also seeing an increase between from 62 to 75. Health typically is ADHD when we think of health. So just as Superintendent Perangeli said earlier, we have a shortage of IAs and ABAs, and this particular population change is contributing to that factor, that need. When you have students that have autism, neurological, and ADHD, you're going to see an increase of behavior support needs, communication and sensory support, as well as specialized instruction related services as well. But we often talk about these numbers, but we don't share out some other important numbers that I want to mention tonight, and that's how many students have 504 plans in the district. So I could break it down to you. There is approximately 150 students that have 504 plans in our district, and it's almost evenly distributed amongst the 3 buildings. There's 42 at Park Avenue, 54 at Webster Middle School, and 43 at Bartlett High School, with a third of the students having health impairment, ADHD, ADD. So I thought that was interesting as a factor, because when you take the 500 and you add in this 150, you have a third of the student population here in Webster that have an identified disability. Mm-hmm. So that really talks a lot about the district. Now, why are we working so hard and not seeing changes in our numbers? I thought I'd like to share a couple of other points of interest that I think would be really beneficial for you to be aware of. And one of those numbers has to do with our evaluations. This year, we're slated to conduct over 250 evaluations. 116 of those are initial evaluations, which means students that are in the process of being considered eligible for special education. 107 of those were reevaluations, and 31 were additional assessments. 74 students were found not eligible over the course of this year, so it's ebbing and flowing. We'll have 5 students qualify in a week, and then three students didn't qualify. So that's what's hovering. So we may be servicing those students until we're not. So we're trying to increase our capacity to capture that information. In addition to the 504s, which isn't often shared in this forum, I wanted to share our proportionate share numbers. We have a total of 51 students that are part of proportionate share, and it's made up of 3 categories. Those that are homeschooled that have IEPs in the district, those that are that go to a private school that are residents of our district and that have IEPs, and those that go to private schools that have IEPs that are non-Webster residents. So we service all 3 of those populations. And currently we have in our district 14 students that are homeschooled that have IEPs, 20 that attend private schools in town that are also in-town residents, and then 17 students that attend a parochial school in our district that are not residents. So we use proportionate share funds to pay for these services. And what's important here is that if a student is a resident here and has an IEP, once those funds run out and they're homeschooled, we're still responsible for their ability to make progress in their IEP, but we're not for non-Webster residents. So we're working with the headmasters at the private schools, and we're saying we are running out of funds and we're going to come up with a plan. And their enrollment numbers have changed, so they're more open to saying, if you have a service plan and you're not a resident, in the future you may not be serviced. So our focus is residents that are in the community. Is there any questions before I move on to the thank yous?
Through the chair.
Yes.
It would just be interesting to see of those, 160 initial evaluations, what were parent requests versus what were, team or your, I would call them IS teams, your instructional support teams, recommended for evaluation.
We do capture those numbers. I don't have them with me,
Yeah.
but in the future I could bring that.
Just to see, how our support systems, identify students that might need additional services or an IEP versus, what's a parent saying.
It's predominantly early intervention because the bulk of our referrals are coming from the children that are not yet 3 years old. So that's about 50%, and then it's primarily parent, and then it does follow like school referrals through the SST process. Okay. So I first would like to thank the folks over at Bright. They awarded us an additional grant in the amount of $33,066 for Webster Middle School staff. So that is above and beyond the amount that they have given us in the past. So that was very helpful, and we appreciate the collaboration.
That was included in our FY27 budget to help support.
Yeah. We didn't have a chance to publicly thank them. I also want to thank our CPAC co-chairs, Sabrina Pichet and Jennifer Milham. They hosted 10 CPAC meetings this year, and we had anywhere from 1 attendee to 11. So we were really excited about growing our CPAC, and we look forward to next year. I would also like to thank several of our staff members that gave up their time in the evening to volunteer their time in the evening to do presentations for the CPAC. I first want to thank all 4 of our speech and language pathologists, Christine McManus, Tori Hendra, Lisa Cotter, and Nicole Kaczynski. They had the most well-attended CPAC meeting, and it was based on assistive technology devices, and they had hands-on opportunities for parents to play around with the devices and get to know what their purpose is and how they could be used. So it was a training session, and it was very successful. The parents that were there that participated, everyone left feeling really good. We also left feeling really good when Bridget Hamilton came in and did an OT sensory presentation. The presentation shared different types of OT sensory strategies that are used in the schools and that parents could replicate at home. And then last but not least is our school psychologist came in, Christine Desjardins and Aaliyah Zubi, and they had a presentation about what it's like for the student to experience a cognitive evaluation. And then we were tested in the CPAC environment, and we got to see firsthand what it was like and what type of information a school psychologist would gather from that type of information in the testing. So that was also very well received. Any questions on my thank yous?
Through the chair.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you because 2 years ago, maybe almost 3 years ago, we didn't have a CPAC. So taking that initiative to put it on the district site, I think, it's just so important to have this group for our district, especially considering, our high percentage of students with needs. So I'm hoping, those one-person meetings, consistently will be, 11 attendees, and they feel supported by our district, because it can be a daunting experience, especially for a new parent with a student with a disability. So having that community within our community is essential.
It is my pleasure, and it's one of my most proudest accomplishments, but I definitely didn't do it alone. I have a team of people that are there to support this, from the chairs and the staff. When I asked the staff if they could attend this, they welcomed it with open arms, and when they were finished with their presentation, they asked to do it again. So I'm very pleased to have a wonderful team to work with. Okay, so some things to look forward to for next year is this summer, we're going to have a summer institute around inclusive practices and new timeout regulations, and that is something that's being funded by a grant that we received. It was a competitive grant, and that's been previously announced. We have also started to receive requests from local colleges for internships, and I really would like to capitalize that and support up-and-coming educators, occupational therapists in our school districts. So that's an exciting thing to look forward to. And then, this is going to be the 3rd time this evening that we've mentioned the shortage of IAs and ABAs, and I wanted to share with you that we're going to move toward creating a programmatic model specifically for a substantially separate program that is sustainable, that meets student needs, that allows for things for students to access like discrete trial training, especially when they're younger, and that it allows for balancing education, but also an inclusion environment. So that's something that's more to come to look forward to. We're going to be doing an analysis compared to what service delivery grids look like in comparison to what a programmatic model looks like to make sure that it's sustainable over time. So that's one of the biggest take-homes that we're going to be working on this summer. And that's the end of my update. Are there any questions?
To the chair,
Yes.
what building are you thinking for that, or are you still like analyzing the student need in each?
So originally, I was thinking of Park Avenue because that's where the biggest need is. That's where the biggest need for support staff are, our largest numbers. But it starts to dwindle down as expected. It's less and less at middle school, and then it's even less at the high school. So if we're going to do this, I think we should just go for the gusto and get this done. It's really important, and I just think that you don't want to prolong this. If you're going to do it programmatically, we're talking many programs over at the elementary school and the separate programs that are specifically targeting ABA. So I just want to be our programs that are known for autism. There's one program at the middle school, and then there's a shared program because there isn't high numbers at the high school. So we're talking 2 more classrooms. So at that point, we might as well just address all of them at once.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mrs. Frangeli? Thank you, Mrs. Frangeli. The next item on the agenda is the business manager's report. Good evening, Mrs. Collins.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start with the renovation project and give you an update. Of course, your first update is being in the section of the building that has been completed with phase 2. We're very excited to be at this major milestone of the project, which represents a little over 80% complete. So we are over the hill and on our way down towards completion. So this transition from phase 2 to phase 3 did get completed over spring break. I have previously mentioned we were moving 61 people, and 61 people means 61 offices. It could be classrooms, it could be storage areas, everything that goes along with 61 people. So it was a significant move. Big shout out to our IT department. They had to, they were in the Saturday before April break to get all of the equipment broken down and into tubs and ready to move because we were responsible for all the IT equipment. And then after day 1 of the move, which was on Monday, Patriots Day, they needed to get started, and one of their first tasks was transforming the modular classrooms with 1 or 2 ports in there into office space. So we did have to purchase switches. They had to run all kind of cabling across the classrooms to get that set up, and that was no easy task to get completed while people were also trying to get settled in their rooms. So they worked very hard, not only in getting the district office set up, but also getting all of the desktops set up as well across the space. This move, we obviously were supported by a moving company, but it really involved everyone. Our custodians, our IT staff, our central office staff, administrators, and other staff members, you know, and staff jumped in and stepped in various ways and at different levels. Some were deeply involved in the heavy moving, cleaning, configuring, arranging, and everyone showed so much flexibility during that week while we were doing it, and all contributions throughout the week were really appreciated because without everyone stepping up and playing a role in this move, I'm not sure we would have gotten through the end of the week. The building was in much better shape for us to move in this time than it was for phase 1. But this move in and of itself was far more physically demanding and exhausting. We measured the week in steps, and each day were very high steps, and it was exhausting, and we did it though, and we're really happy to be at this phase. So I hope everyone's enjoying the new building. I think what we are seeing is that from a building operation standpoint, having 2 sections connected and only having 6 classrooms out in the modulars is certainly much better for staff, much better for students. It's far more cohesive in the modular classrooms. Now there's a whole team of administrators out there to support the teachers whenever there's any noise in the hallway or people lining up in the bathroom. So I think the students are really adjusting to the fact that there are people everywhere now. So all in all, really successful move. So.
And I just want to give Ms. Contos a huge shout out. I don't think, people say that you have an OPM or you have an architect. There is a lot of logistical planning that was done behind the scenes, that was driven and coordinated by Ms. Contos, taking the lead on it. And despite the size of this move and the physical labor, it went extremely well this time. And that in large part was due to her efforts. So I publicly thank you and I thank everybody who was involved. I mean, there were people everywhere, administrators cleaning, mopping, vacuuming, washing windows, moving boxes, unpacking boxes.
Non-IT staff helping the IT staff.
Chasing a mouse out the door. We did it all, so.
That's a true story.
That is a true story. So thank you to your efforts and thank you to everyone, the IT, the custodial staff. I mean, everybody pitched in.
Custodial staff from other buildings too, I just want to be clear,
Yeah.
they came in on the last day and helped with the final clean. I think the thing to remember is these transition periods are very short. And so from the time they complete it to the time we start moving things out and moving in, you don't have a lot of time to get in there to do deep cleaning in between that. So while the custodian team would have liked to get ahead of it, they knew the movers were coming through. There were things in there. And you know, what the movers did was they went in and they got stuff in the spaces in the classrooms. And Ms. Nieves and Mr. Renal had to go through room by room with the movers and now get it to look like a classroom so that you could come in. And if you saw some of the rooms, some of the pathways or the art room, I had moments of, oh my gosh, like I hope we can get this to all fit and we're gonna be able to do it. And they did an amazing job working with the movers to get that done. And what we experienced in the modular classrooms, we had some basic layouts of how we thought things were gonna go. What we discovered very quickly was that wasn't accounting for some electrical boards in the room or some windows or some indents. And we had movers lining up and we were trying to place things that were coming in at different times and trying to keep the whole operation moving. It was interesting, but we did it. So really proud of the overall team effort because we wouldn't have done it without everyone. So
I would just like to say thank you to everybody, both of you especially, but we see the end, what it looks like once it's all put together. But I think that we all have to remember that there's so much that happens behind the scenes over a vacation week, over that one extra day of the holiday we have. So thank you everyone for getting it to this point. I know we talked about during building committee, the flow is easier now. I'm sure the students and the teachers are happy to kind of have a nice access between C section and B section now. So we're 80% there. And that final part will be done before we even know it. So all these years is finally coming, the end is in sight. So thank you.
And with the classrooms falling into place, you know, you have English upstairs here, they kind of have their own area that they're settled into. Math downstairs, it's, you know, they've landed in their homes, and I think it's a comfortable place. And really, and I should have mentioned this, you know, all the teachers and all the planning that they did beforehand. And let's also, big shout out to the teachers that lasted in Section A
Yes.
until we got to Phase 3. As you know, we've had challenges in that section of the building with the leaking and the buckets, and you know, they stuck it out till the end.
And
So,
didn't complain.
yeah.
They didn't complain. They stayed and they made do and they did the best they could.
They made light of it,
Absolutely. So,
you know,
can't thank them enough.
putting swim team signs on the buckets, you know, so they really did make light of the situation. Got like a little bit of humor.
Has the flow of the students been good? Because obviously, this section of the building does not look like what the section looked like previously.
Mhm.
There's a lot more inlets now, there's classrooms down hallways that weren't there.
Mhm.
Have we seen that, everyone's kind of been able to pick that up over the last month? And
Well, we on the Friday of April break, tours were offered. right? So there were students in here giving tours. Also, Ms. Nieves sent out maps to everyone in advance that were already labeled. I think there was a little bit of an adjustment at first, but we also saw it in the modular classrooms. First day, people are coming in the modulars looking for the nurse, not realizing they have to come back to the B section. So like first week or two, there were some, I don't know where I'm going, or forgetful moments out of habit and being habitual about where you go. But I think they settled in pretty quickly.
That's great.
It's good. Yeah, very adaptable. And while we're giving out thank yous, I think a big thank you, we talked about Monterey earlier, but they are an incredible partner to us here at the school district. And during this extended renovation period, they graciously allowed us to store our equipment in one of their buildings. They also provided us with some fully configured cubicle space. They provided us with some furniture, some desks, some file cabinets, some lockers, which we put to good use for our paraprofessional staff and some of our teacher planning rooms. And in fact, when we were moving the cubicles during April break week, we had a couple challenges. We gave them a call. They showed up to help troubleshoot some things. So they have been tremendous, and we really appreciate their support, not just with this project, but with everything they do to support the school system. We're very grateful and lucky to have them in town.
Absolutely.
Moving on, in preparation for phase 3, one of the other things that we did, you may recall that we had 3 relatively new boilers in Section A. So what we did was we went out to bid on that surplus disposal, and we did end up with a bidder, and we received some funds for those boilers, and that vendor came and took the boilers out the first week following break. So that was really great. That money was turned over to the town and went into the town surplus fund. So that was exciting. For me it was. I don't know if anyone else found it that exciting, but the fact that I did the work to put it out there and we actually had someone buy it made it really worthwhile. Plus I hate to see something that's in semi-decent shape not be able to get put to good use. So that was exciting. So that moves us into phase 3, Section A. So activities began promptly on April 27. Break did not waste any time. So, you know, some of the first things that were mobilized were really the shut off of power, water, gas, getting that all shut off. The other item that they needed to work on is getting the temporary lift that we had installed in Section A taken down. And then they immediately moved into demo and in abatement activities. They also started right away in the administration office working on the sprinkler systems and fire alarms. They also worked on some site work, which was some foundation work. So lots of activities already underway and mobilized. So they're in full gear and moving forward. In fact, we're also talking about some of the site work that'll happen over the summer with respect to curbing, paving, and how that'll all be structured and not to interfere with summer school. So that planning is underway as well. So exciting times. We're looking forward to the end of this year and getting through phase 3. Absolutely. Big smile on my face. Any questions?
To the chair,
Yes.
just a reminder, when is this set to be like wrapped up, like good, done?
So the construction for phase 3 should be done by the end of November. However, we have already aligned that the move won't happen until December break. That move will be a little challenging because we're really going to only have 4 days over break to be able to do that. Then what's following after that is a phase 4, and phase 4 will be the removal of the modular buildings, and then what we're calling hardscape and landscape work. So continued work on the landscaping as well as the parking lot that'll go out front where the modular classrooms are, and then the playground for the preschool will get done in phase 4, and that's all scheduled to be done in June of 2027. So we'll have one more full school year of renovation activities. However, from a pure building standpoint, will be done by the end of this year.
So like January 1, this building should be full with
Fully
students.
occupied.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to move into other updates. Really happy to report that Roselli and Clark completed the fiscal year 25 audit of our end of year report. That is a report that we submit, a financial report that we submit to DESE annually. They test 44 requirements across multiple schedules, and there was only one finding with Schedule 19, which is your projection of your following school year budget with long-term debt service amount that was provided by the town. So it was a really minor finding, but overall, I was really pleased that there were no findings. That was a very happy dance for me. And then one other item, which I didn't put in my superintendent notes, but that I want to mention to you, is that during school vacation break week, the superintendent received a letter that we actually received $332,911 in circuit breaker extraordinary relief. That's as a result of our claim over last year being up by 25%. So that was a surprise. We weren't expecting that. When we had done our initial calculations, we weren't expecting that happened, but once all those claims were completed, and Maria Santier and Ms. Hare's office does all of those claims, and as a result of all the work she did in putting together all of those costs to support it, resulted in that extra relief. So it's good news.
So that's money that's needed for this year, that we'll use this year. As you know, our tuition has been, I think we reported it's running about $700,000 or $800,000 in a deficit in tuition this year, as we've had a couple big tuitions come in this year. So it's much needed, and will be put to good use.
Great news.
Yep. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Ms. Contos. Any other questions from the committee? Hearing none, the next item on the agenda is the principal's report. Good evening, Ms. Peterson.
Good evening, everybody. So as you all know, we are in the midst of MCAS season, so I wanted to update you on where the middle school is with that. We have completed English and math, so that's 12 sessions for grades 5, 6, 7, and 8. We still have 6 sessions to go. That's grades 5 and 8 doing science and grade 8 doing civics. Happy to say that in English, we had 100% participation in grades 5, 6, and 7. In grade 8, we only had 3 students who were not tested, one due to medical absence, one due to a placement, waiting for a placement, and only one due to absence and not being able to make up the test in the allotted time. So, so far so good with English. In math, we have until May 22nd to make up math. We just finished grade 5 session 2 today, so I don't have numbers for our absences in grade 5. However, in grade 6, I only have 3 left to test. One of those 3 is out on medical leave. In grade 7, I only have 1 left, and it's a student who literally just transferred in yesterday, who will now be on our records. Thank you very much. And in grade 8, we have 7 students left to test. 4 of those are currently out on medical leave. So we are in good shape. The tricky part comes when science is done, because the deadline for science makeups is also May 22nd. So we have a very short turnover for science makeups. Any questions about MCAS and where we are with that?
I just want to say thank you. I know it's a lot of coordination to do this, and I know you spend a lot of time going through this and setting up spaces for the kids to test uninterrupted. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of scheduling, so thank you for that. And it's great numbers that we're completing at 100% at grade levels. That's awesome.
I actually had a student who I had makeup session 1 yesterday remind his teacher that he still needed to do session 2 today. So usually they don't do that. And so the second part of my report tonight is the report from the AIR visit. If you remember, back in January, we had the site visit from the MSV, which is not DESE, but they report to DESE. And so I had reported back in February or March when we got the first report back. The first report was just the classroom observations. This 60-page report is the results combining the classroom observations, the surveys, faculty survey, and all of the focus groups. So I will consult with Ms. Perangeli on what parts we want to share, being that it is 60 pages. I don't know what your purview is and how we want to do that, so. But I will do a quick overview of the findings. Again, nothing that we're not aware of. The good news is that the report aligns with what we already know, what our district and building walkthroughs know. But the good thing about this report is it does give us focus questions to think about in how to change some of the things. So there were 4 key findings. The first was that despite the fact that we have high-quality instructional materials, our instruction is not consistently grade appropriate. Aligns with what we see. There is inconsistency in high expectations for all students. Also what we have observed. Although our attendance rate has improved, we still continue to have a very high chronic absentee rate. And so, you just heard some of the medical numbers. That's where that comes from, especially at this time of year. We have a lot of students out for those things. And then the 4th bullet is that while we have goals and processes for improvements, the staff report that our goals frequently shift, which I totally agree with, and we discussed at instructional leadership team today. Dr. Mackay was there as well, in that that's not necessarily our fault in the fact that the state continues to shift our goals and what they expect us to work on. A lot of the times at the last minute. Case in point, I had my school improvement plan already and gone through the process of working with the school council, and now the systems of support and DESE have decided that we need to submit a whole different format to them by June 30th. So luckily I can still use parts of that, but this will help guide where we need to go with that. So I have more, but I'll stop and ask if you have questions on those 4 bullet points. Okay. So some of the other things that that was pointed out is that our professional development is not monitored for implementation. So while we offer PD, there's not follow-up with making sure that staff is working on certain things, that the staff need more guidance and feedback on common planning time, which is what we have been working on and will continue to work on. Our interventions and supports are not meeting student needs. We do not currently have proactive assessments for social, emotional, and mental health needs. Our scheduling is a challenge for dually coded students, those who are English language learners, and students with disabilities, which is what we have been working on all year, going to
adjustments and
again, I think it's the 4th time this has come up this evening. We have lack of staff, specifically paras, which hinders instructional support for students with special needs. Our students reported that they feel safe at school, and mostly and always, but they do feel like some of their classmates do not behave in an appropriate manner. So there were a couple of things in the survey that kind of didn't align, and one example of that is that staff feel like that they are providing time for dialogue and student discourse. However, all of these observations and our observations show that that is not happening. So there's some perception things that we may need to work on, and we have been working on what is discourse, what is dialogue, and so, some of those things need some clarification. So our next steps are definitely the improvement plan and really honing in on data, which was another thing that we have the data, we utilize data. I think the next thing is where there are gaps in data. So we use iReady at the beginning, middle, and end of year, but what are we using as benchmark assessments or progress monitoring assessments throughout the year? So those are some of the things that we need to continue to look at. So that is a very brief overview of the 60-page report with lots of graphs and colors.
And we can share it, I'm happy to share it. Yep.
Sorry, I would just say that obviously going through the process was probably very tedious, but it's probably good to get that third-party perspective. As you had said, most of the items we were already aware of, but obviously there's at least one item where there is a disconnect between what's there, and maybe getting a third party to come forward and say that will allow for that discussion internally now that it happened, by not just saying, it's not just us. There was other people here, they saw the same thing that we're seeing from the administration level, so we can kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, a very objective, objective parties, and they did provide the chart of what they were looking for, and so we have that to go.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
And I think that you're now fully staffed in the middle school for adjustment guidance counselors, so I think that's great, because I think that was something that was really hard for you to get, so it's not surprising that you're not proactive for SEL so much as when you don't have those people. So I think that will be really helpful moving forward next year if you have those same people moving forward to kind of put together a plan to do some more proactive things for SEL. I would expect that that would be something that they're planning on doing for next year and kind of getting in there. And then as far as the intervention supports go for middle school, is there any kind of intervention support that is district-wide, as far as are you doing similar interventions across the district so that it feels the same to the kids as they move? I know it's different with the elementary versus middle, but the same idea on how they're doing it, or is it very different because of the kids you have?
Yeah, I think it's different, and that you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know what's happening at the elementary school specifically, other than I know their interventions focus mostly on reading, while our interventions are reading and math. With the caveat of if a student has a need in both, we're focusing on the reading.
Yeah, I'm guessing, I guess, to be more specific, is it the same, is it a pullout? Is it inclusion? Is it during a wind block? Do those look the same across the district, or are they different between schools?
I think it's different between schools and different on student needs, because not every student is receiving pull-out. Depending on your levels of L's and your students with disabilities, what's on your IEPs. One of the things we are changing in our schedule is not necessarily the schedule per se, but what is happening in the blocks. So our math and English are 90 minutes. And so what we're looking at doing is really focusing on 60 minutes of Tier 1 and 30 minutes of intervention within the classroom. And so what that will do is it will free up the pull-out time that students with disabilities are using right now during RTI, because that's also the time our English language learners are being serviced. So it will free that time up so they don't have to be missing their English language services, and they don't have to be missing their special ed services as well.
That makes sense. And is I Ready what's driving the intervention for like tier 2 kids?
Currently, so yes and no. So it drives the intervention at the beginning of the year because that's the data I use to set up the groups over the summer so that we can get going right away and we don't have to take the,
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks, which is a long time.
Yeah.
And then during the year, they utilize classroom benchmarks until the middle of the year when we get the iReady benchmark, iReady middle of the year data. So it's a combination throughout the year. At the beginning of the year, I use the end of year data.
Got it. Thank you.
Through the chair,
Yes.
what tier, do you use like a tier 2 program like UFly or Spire?
We don't have any, no.
You don't have any tier 2 intervention? I mean,
What we're using is the curriculum materials that have tiered interventions within them, and then other things that are filling the gaps.
has the district thought about a tier 2? I know financing and budget.
Yeah, we've been looking at making a curriculum, HQIM, and getting that, because like Ms. Peterson said, a lot of our curriculum has built-in items that we can utilize, so we haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah, just for those like targeted kids who are, because there's tiered interventions and stuff with the curriculum, but something more targeted like for those identified tier 2, because ideally like that's the tier 1, the gen ed curriculum, right? But those tier 2 kiddos with Title I, because the middle school has Title I,
Yes.
right? So
Title
has
I
something that they
services,
can
you're
utilize.
10%, not everybody.
Right, something they can utilize as that program, what they can be trained in for additional.
And it's been challenging for our Title I, which is why we were looking at potentially making adjustments because, we're pulling our staff because we can't
Right.
find, when we have teachers out on long-term or something, we're looking for a certified teacher. If we can't find a sub, we're pulling our Title I interventionists and they're being put in a classroom, so then we're not meeting those needs and servicing those kids. So that's been a struggle also across the district and all buildings, not just middle school, but it's across the district. We're seeing that. But as Ms. Peterson said, the report really didn't surprise us. It's everything that we're seeing and we're talking about and we're working on. We've spent the year participating in scheduling. We're working on many of the items already. I think some of our frustration is that it feels slow at times. It feels like it's not fast enough. We know what the problem is. We can see what the problem is. But turning it around and getting that buy-in and being able to address it, so it just feels sometimes like we're in slow motion while we're working on that.
Yeah, and I just want to reflect that scheduling at a middle school with the amount of ESL, special ed, and blocks, it's no easy feat. And even if you have a great idea, really hard to fit it in or to execute. So I think that we can acknowledge the fact that really slows everything down always, is trying to get, and the scheduling can be extremely challenging. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from Ms. Peterson? Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Next item is the student representative update. Eric's obviously not here. Is there anything that you'd like to
I
add?
have a few notes from him. Mr.
Okay.
Pivovacek is at a track meet and I forget where he went, but they told me. But I wish him luck. Hopefully he's having good. I think this might be his last one that was scheduled after the fact, one of the finals. So good luck to Eric. He did share some notes with me. So his positives are summer's coming. So that's a good positive. He'll be on summer break soon. And that senior exam's coming up, so that's home stretch for them. So they're excited. Some of the challenges is that, I don't know, I can see this one, the last minute schoolwork for seniors, making sure they get all, but he put hot temperatures. And I don't know that we've had any hot temperatures so far this spring, so I'm not sure where he got that one.
The HVAC system. So I do know one classroom, when it was cold, they changed the thermostat and it got stuck in a very hot temperature, so.
So maybe that's what
So
he's
that
referring
might be
to.
it, so, in
Okay.
full disclosure.
All right, so that's good. The high school is in the middle of AP testing, so that will be done by Friday of this week, by the end of the week. May is such a busy testing month across the district for everybody, so kudos to the principals and everybody for all of their scheduling and work around that. Student engagement, events and opportunities. Award-winning author Jerry Kraft visited the freshmen and sophomores on April 29th. They enjoyed that. And then on April 30th, the drama club presented And Now for Something New in the auditorium. They did an amazing job with that, so I was excited to see the students in the auditorium there. The student showcase was in the gym on May 1st. There were 179 high school students and 36 middle school students that presented their projects. There were 89 projects. That was fantastic. It was a full gym, that's for sure.
Can I chime in on one thing there? We're giving shout outs tonight. I want to thank the Greek Church on Lake Parkway for all of the events that we've been having here, and we've been constrained for parking. They've allowed us to use their lot, and we've been shuttling people back and forth, so another great partnership there with Father
Absolutely.
Luke.
Absolutely. This past Friday, students from each of the pathways at the middle school and the high school attended the PLTW Spring Showcase in Boston. So we were excited to have our students represent us there. And then on May 21st, there'll be a 3-on-3 basketball tournament hosted by the National Honor Society. Family events, we always try and tag team. I try and read others so you're not getting duplicate reports on stuff. The Super Team Banquet was held at Point Breeze. Tonight, on May 12th, there are interest meetings for the class trips to both New York and Puerto Rico. Those are being held downstairs. And on May 22nd, there will be a paint night hosted by the NHS, the National Honor Society, at the Greek Church in Webster. On sports, and I've heard this mentioned through a few kids throughout the building, the new weight room is open, and it will be available 3 afternoons a week after school until the end of the school year. I've heard students talking about
I've heard it
that.
in the hallway too.
Yeah, and how excited they are to have the weight room, and students are excited to use it.
I didn't mention that.
So, yeah, so that's a great thing, and it's nice to hear the kids excited about these things.
Actually, and I want to just, Mr. Pronto was a big support during the setup of that athletic room and making sure that we had the equipment in the right place and worked with the movers to, you know, get everything out of the field house, and he supported them during that setup, and that was really appreciated.
Absolutely. And then his last note is that senior class updates, senior week events are coming up. They are having an overnight on May 29th here at the high school. And if anybody would like to donate, they're looking for raffle items like gift cards, baskets, dorm room items, anything. You can contact Ms. Bodette or Ms. Nieves, and they will happily accept them. And some more prizes for the students. They have raffles, they have all kinds of events, they have food. They really do a lot for the kids here and the seniors that are graduating. There are so many activities for them, and it's just wonderful to see. And he did put in here, the prom is going to be held this Saturday. It is at Pleasant Valley, and I believe it's a masquerade ball theme. So I'm looking forward to that. I volunteered my services with the chaperoning. I'm sure they're all going to be thrilled to have me there. But it's a fun event, and I can't wait to see what the kids look like. So that's the students' report.
Thank you. The next item is old business, the monthly report on fundraising applications. Looks like we just have the one.
Yeah.
Looks like it's the paint at the Greek Church at the minimum.
Mhm.
So we'd just like to thank everyone's involved in that. Next item of business is new business. Looks like we have several designation and appointments to do. The first one is the designation of the email record keeper. Looks like last year that was Desiree's fun job. I will take any nominations concerning the email keeper.
Nominate Desiree to continue to be the email keeper.
I have a motion. Do I have a second concerning,
Second?
Yeah.
a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Desiree, would you please poll the board?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Desiree. The next item is the designation of the legislative representative. Last year, that was myself. Do I have any nominations concerning that position?
Nominate Member Adamopoulos.
A nomination, do I have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Desiree, would you please poll the board?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
The next item is the appointment of the school committee member as the payroll designee. That was Ms. Millet last year. Do we have a nomination for this year?
I nominate Ms. Millet again.
I second.
Nomination is second. Any further discussion? Desiree, would you please poll the committee?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
Next item is the nomination of the payroll backup designee. That was Ms. Scriggly last year. Do we have a nomination for this year?
I nominate Member Quellos.
A nomination, do I have a second?
Second.
Nomination and a second. Any further discussion? Desiree, would you please poll the committee?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is the appointment of the warrant designee. That was Ms. Millet last year.
I nominate Member Millet.
A nomination, do I have a second?
Second.
Nomination and a second. Any further discussion? Desiree, would you please poll the committee?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
Next item is the appointment of the warrant backup designee. That was Member Scriggly last year. Do we have a nomination for this year?
I'll nominate Member Scaricchio.
Nomination, do I have a second?
Second.
Nomination and a second. Desiree, could you please poll the board?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
And the last appointment appears to be the school committee, building committee representative. That was me last year. Do we have a nomination for this year?
Nominate Member Adamopoulos.
Second?
Nomination and a second. Desiree, would you please poll the committee?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
Just want to thank everybody for all their appointments and designations. The next item is the approval of surplus items.
Yes. In your packet, you have a list of some surplus inventory items that we found during the move that we need to surplus. These are items that are no longer being used. Yep.
Do I have a motion to declare surplus items of miscellaneous books from the Webster Public Schools and to direct the superintendent or the business manager to auction off, donate, or otherwise recycle or dispose of these items in conjunction with provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 30B?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Desiree, would you please poll the committee?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
The next item is the approval of year-end transfers.
Yeah, what's standard practice, what I'm requesting from the school committee is approval to authorize me to handle all of the year-end transfers that are needed among the different accounts, so that will help with the smooth closing of the fiscal year. And then we would report back at your request.
Do I have a motion to approve Mrs. Contos to do the necessary year-end transfers?
So moved.
Second?
And a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Desiree, would you please poll the committee?
Member Caleros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scaricchio?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is the superintendent evaluation, evidence of goals.
Yep, so in your packet, You have a copy of my goals and the evidence. This is in the same format that I've done in the past. The goals are listed above, and then the evidence is below. I'm not going to go through each category. I'm happy if you want to discuss any of this. If you'd like to come in, just give me a call. We'll set up a meeting. We can talk about it, and we can review any evidence that is there. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any questions about anything.
Does anybody have any questions for Superintendent Brandel? I believe we got the evaluation criteria. We need that for May 20th.
The 20th,
Yes. So we can all get that together so that that's ready to put together a packet for, I think, our next meeting. Obviously, we'll go through it.
Yep.
So I thank everyone for the time putting that together. And the next item is the review, transfer, signing of warrants, bills, payroll, and vouchers.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Desiree, when do you need the diplomas done by?
She didn't give me a date, but everybody has to sign them after you, so I can find out, and let you know. The graduation is just sooner better.
Do it soon.
Sooner better.
The more pressure I have, the better.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to get in on time. I'm great at reading. That's my goal.
Do a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Desiree, if you please poll the committee.
Member Culeros?
Yes.
Member Ramopoulos?
Yes.
Member Millet?
Yes.
Member Scarrico?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.